Hey, what's up, guys? So we've collected all the questions you brought in about the topics we talked about in the series of videos, and today we're going to do a Q&A video answering the questions you guys have. So let's dive in. The first question is, what do you eat today, and what does your meal plan look like?
Okay, that's a good question. I get that quite a lot. But I have to preface this by saying that the reason why people want to know what I eat in a day is because they just figured they'll just eat that way, and that's got to be good because I've been eating this way for about over 25 years now. It seems to be working. So just simply eat the way that Don eats.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really a good idea because there is a transition, which I've already gone through over the course of years because I really didn't know what I was doing way back then. I wasn't following any programs. I hadn't heard of the raw food diet. I was kind of figuring things out for myself. So there was a long transition for me to get to where I am today. And some people say, well, that's okay. I don't need the transition. Just tell me what you eat. I'll eat what you eat. And I see the wisdom of it. I see the light. The problem is going from a typical Western diet to eating the healthiest of diets really should
Mm-hmm.
take a transition because if you don't, you can overburden certain organs of your body, like your liver. You'll go through detox that is just too much for your body to deal with. And I'm not saying you're going to wind up in the hospital, although it's technically possible. Let's say if you were overweight and you had a lot of medications in your life or recreational drugs, these things get stored in the fat cells, and then you go to the healthiest of diets. You end up dropping weight like crazy, and all those medications and drugs become systemic. Yeah, that can overburden your liver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for physical reasons and it's good for emotional reasons to transition. So, but basically, what do I eat in a day? I eat whenever I'm hungry, and I never eat when I'm not hungry. And that's a radical notion for a lot of people. Wait, they say, you eat always when you're hungry, but you never eat when you're not hungry. So you don't eat on a schedule? Well, I do eat on a schedule, but it's my body's schedule, and I have nothing to do with it. I just do. Look, I mean, I don't go to the bathroom on a schedule. I don't sleep on a schedule. I just leave that up to my body. Whatever my body wants, I say, okay, good to go. I will listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as a meal plan, again, I don't really have a meal plan. I shop every day because I have a small refrigerator. I live in an RV, but I like shopping every day because if you try to shop for a week, you can't know what your body wants you to eat 4 days out from your shopping trip. So when I used to shop uh, for a whole week at a time, I ended up throwing a lot of food away or composting a lot of food, wasting a lot of food, I should say. Okay. That's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some people say, no, I'm just going to eat whatever I bought 6 days ago because that's what I bought. But that's not really respecting what your body wants. So now I'm up to the point where, where when I get hungry, I just leave it up to what my body wants. Um, and so I don't have a meal plan. I don't eat meals. People say, what do you have for breakfast? I don't eat breakfast. And I don't eat lunch, and I don't eat dinner, only because I don't give my meals names.
Yeah.
Um, just like I don't give when I go to the bathroom. I don't give that a name or you know anything else. So there's no meal plan. I eat fruit. I eat a lot of fruit. That's what I'm designed to eat. That's what we're designed to eat. So that's what I eat. So in other words, when asking a question like this, what do you eat in a day? It's really better to ask the question, how do I eat?
Mm-hmm.
How do you eat? Yeah, you can be curious about what I eat, but also how do I eat? So again, when I'm hungry, not when I'm hungry, because otherwise, how would I know when my body wants me to fast for a few days or even a few weeks? If I'm always eating ahead of true hunger, I'll never know. So if I wait till I get hungry, and once or twice a year, maybe I won't get hungry all day, and I won't get hungry the next day. But the third day, I'll get hungry again. So my body just didn't want me to eat for 2 days,
Yeah.
maybe because it was exposed to a pretty serious pathogen of some kind that I wasn't aware of, and it just wanted maximum nervous system energy to deal with it. And digestion, as we've spoken about in previous interviews, digestion takes up a lot of nervous system energy. So I just eat when I'm hungry, not when I'm not. And I, when I am hungry, I look around like, well, what am I hungry for? I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick on what I would rather have. I want to leave that up to my body, just like all the other animals do. Believe me, they're not picking what they would rather have. Everything tastes good to them. Um, and everything I eat tastes good to me. So when I get hungry, what am I hungry for? I'm at a point now where I can say I can look at different foods and go, No, no, not speaking to me, not saying, ooh, that one there, mango. But the next day, mango won't be speaking to me because your body knows what's in each of these things. And it's a different combination of nutrients in all the different foods, and it knows what it needs at any moment in time. That's why it's kind of, they've kind of termed it instinctive eating. So I can do that now. People just starting out, they have no idea. Because maybe they're not listening for it. They're picking. They're used to picking what to eat. Look, they came from a diet where, hey, what should we eat today? Chinese food? No. Japanese food? No. Mexican food? Yeah, let's do Mexican. No, I had that 2 days ago. So they choose by ethnicity instead of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's at the opposite end of the spectrum based on, you know, versus what their body wants. So that's what I do. And if I'm hungry and I don't see in my house what I want to eat, oh, that's a bad situation. Because now I go to the store like Whole Foods and I look around like, no, no, oh, red bell peppers, yes. I will go to that length to give my body what it wants. Now people say, well, that's pretty fanatical. No, it's not really. How I would have lived 50,000 years ago. I would have been foraging around looking for something that looks good to me that day, that moment in time, and my body is pointing me towards that. So
Right.
that's how I eat and what I eat. And now I will say that I'll give you a link to it. I wrote an article called "How I Live My Life," and in there it gets to a little bit more detail about what do I eat. And we can put that link down below so people can read about my life in general, including my diet.
That's cool. And do you do any smoothies or juices?
Oh, well, not juices. I try to avoid juices. Now, juices have their place, but in a regular, normal diet, juices do not have their place. Smoothies, the only reason I uh, make smoothies is to be able to add seeds to my diet. And there's a green powder that I use as a nutritional adjunct to my diet. So that's the only reason I started making smoothies when I realized that I had to start adding some seeds because I wasn't getting enough of the creamy tropical fruits. And I wanted to start adding a nutritional adjunct, a complement to my diet, which was a good, worthwhile green powder. And that had to be in a smoothie. There's no other way to take a green powder in other than a smoothie. So I went out and bought a Vitamix, and because I would much rather just eat bananas the way all primates eat bananas,
Yeah.
but had to do that in order to get my green powder in.
Yeah. So every day you make smoothies every day.
Well, pretty much. Some days, my body is saying no, it wants to eat something else, and
Uh-huh.
that something else doesn't really make a good smoothie, and it's not a good mixture for that green powder. So there's some days I will not consume the green powder, but most days there's a banana smoothie in there, and it's
Yeah.
just bananas. I don't get fancy. Some people are throwing dates in there, and they feel like they have to. If they just put bananas in a blender and only bananas, no, they're a failure in life. No, there's got to be more things. But look, you can just make a banana smoothie for the purposes of adding something like some seeds, which I can talk about a little later. I think there might have been another question about seeds in there, and that green powder.
Okay. Cool. Question number two. What's the best way to take care of your teeth on a raw vegan diet? How can you make sure your teeth are healthy with all the fruits you eat?
Right. There's a lot of misinformation about fruit sugar, and there's a lot of even alternative health practitioners saying that, well, another reason not to eat fruit is that fruit rots your teeth. Well, it doesn't. You can take a tooth. If you know someone who has a kid and the kid lost a tooth, you can take that tooth and put it in a glass of sugar water, and nothing will happen to the tooth. But you can take that same tooth and put it in a glass of soda, and you can wave that tooth goodbye. It'll disappear in a couple of days,
Right.
depending. And that's because of the acid in the soda, the phosphoric acid. So sugar does not rot teeth. What causes tooth decay is bacteria. Now, the reason why it does that, bacteria are living organisms, and they basically they poop just like we do, and it's the acidic nature of their waste products that causes tooth decay. So when you start throwing a lot of sugar past your mouth, past your teeth, the bacteria will grow. You'll get a higher colony, a bacterial colony. So, and then more bacteria, you can get more acid. Now, if you have good, strong teeth, good dental genetics, as I call it, there's nothing to worry about. This is the way we lived 100,000 years ago. We just pretty much ate fruit, and it didn't rot our teeth. There are cultures living today eat a lot of fruit. They don't wear any clothes unless the reporters come by with the cameras. Uh, they got bulletproof teeth. Their teeth are great. So it's not fruit that rots the teeth. It's the combination of having weak dental genetics handed down from generation and generation prior to you, um, and the waste products, the acidic waste products. But there are things you can do. Now, one is you got to get enough minerals. If you get enough minerals, you can have strong teeth. If you're not getting enough minerals, you won't be able to achieve your dental genetics, whatever it is that you have. So a lot of the foods we eat today are mineral poor because of how they're grown, and we've talked about that in other interviews for the reason why. So this is another benefit of adding a nutritional adjunct to the diet, something to complement the best diet that you're eating, which unfortunately is not consists of the best quality foods, even though it is the best diet. So that helps to. I mean, I've had quite a number of clients that have come to me and said, "Hey, my teeth are becoming transparent. I'm starting to see the inside of the tooth from the outside of the tooth." And I get them on that green powder, and within about 6 or 7 weeks, their teeth are white again. And that's all they did is just get minerals back into their diet. You have to avoid unripe fruit. Unripe fruit tends to be more acidic than when it's ripe. So avoid anything that's unripe, especially pineapple. That's like one of the worst. If it's not ripe, it's very acidic, and that'll just help, damage your teeth.
Yeah.
Now, you can also rinse your mouth with water after eating, especially after eating citrus fruit. There's citric acid in fruit, so that will start to eat away at your enamel a little bit when you eat any kind of citrus fruit. It doesn't mean don't eat it. It just means if you think you may have weak dental genetics, just rinse your mouth with water after you eat citrus fruits, which is oranges, grapefruits, tangerines, things like that. Um, but don't brush. Whatever you do, do not brush just after eating citrus fruit, because after you eat citrus fruit, the enamel on your teeth, the surface area of the enamel has been softened by the acid. So if you start brushing, now you're just brushing your enamel away basically,
Yeah.
because it's softened. So that's why rinse your mouth with water after eating, because the water does contain minerals, kind of minerals that we require for health. It's the inorganic form of minerals, the pre-plant form of minerals. But those minerals will counteract the acid. If you know anything about acid and base from high school physics, high school chemistry, the rinsing of your mouth with water will help to harden that enamel again. Um, be active enough to eat enough foods. Now, how does that have to do with your teeth? You need enough of all the nutrients the body requires for optimal health, including for strong teeth. So essential fatty acids is one of them. If you're not getting enough, of course, the minerals like calcium and phosphorus and potassium and all that stuff, but the essential fatty acids, the omega-3s, the omega-6s, if you're not getting enough of those, that can affect your teeth, make them more susceptible to the acid waste products of the bacteria that are being fed by the sugar from the fruit that you're eating. So make sure to eat enough food, and the one way to do that is to be appropriately active. When you're appropriately active, you'll eat more food than if you were sedentary. Another thing is, especially for people with weak dental genetics, is to floss. Now, my favorite way of flossing is not with the string, but with it's called a water pick. It puts out a thin jet of water, a thin stream of water, and you can buy those to have them at your sink, but it makes a big mess. I like the shower floss. It's a water flossing device that you use in the shower. Now, if you're in the shower, it's impossible to make a mess because you don't have any clothes on, you're in the shower, you got a shower head above you. So it's a great place to floss your teeth in the shower. And there's a product called Shower Floss. I can put a link to that below too. And actually, it's in my dental blog. And rather than do the Shower Floss link, I'll put the link to the dental blog below so you can read all about these recommendations and others on how to have healthy teeth. Because, yeah, a lot of raw foodies do start seeing their teeth go downhill over the course of maybe 8 months, a year and a half. But there are reasons for it, and it's not the raw food diet. It's many other reasons. So we'll put a link down below to that dental blog. Dry brushing is better than brushing with stuff on your toothbrush. People are like, what? That doesn't sound right. Well, yeah, the toothbrush has capillary action when it's dry. It'll pull stuff away from your gum line and away from your teeth. But if you put stuff in the toothbrush, in those bristles, it can't pull anything away because it's full of stuff. So you can read about dry brushing in that same article that I just mentioned. And I also rinse with diluted clove oil before I go to bed. And that's because I have very poor dental genetics. as opposed to other people. It's easy for me to get cavities in general, easier than others. So I have to take really good care of my teeth because of that. So just before I go to hop into bed, I will rinse my mouth with diluted clove oil. And what that does is it brings down the bacterial colony in my mouth for those 7 or 8 hours that I'm sleeping.
Hmm.
So there'll be less waste products produced. And again, that article will be down below.
Yeah. What about coconut oil? I heard people are using coconut oil to protect their teeth, or
Yeah, there's all kinds of other things that people have come up with, oil pulling and coconut oil, and I forget some of the other ones, but I like to focus in on what works best, not on just everything that can be done, because there's a lot of things, but I want to do the ones that work, that have the most effect, that have the most positive effect. If you want to go beyond my recommendations and do coconut oil pulling or using coconut oil in addition to the other things that I recommend, I don't see a problem with that. But some people say, no, I'm going to do oil pulling instead of
hmm,
something else that I recommend, and
yeah,
then they still end up having problems. So that's just something to consider.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. Where do you buy your produce, and how do you make it affordable? Buying organic and all that.
Okay, well, some people say, yeah, I can buy organic or I can buy conventional, and the organic is more expensive. Well, it just depends on your perspective. If you look at food like the conventional food, which has pesticides on it or in it, to me, that's no frills food. And I don't like using things like no frills toilet paper. I want the nice toilet paper. So I'm willing to spend the extra money on the good toilet paper, on the good food, the food that's best for me. What is expensive is ill health. That's the way I look at it. So I will pay for the best food and I'll figure out a way to pay for it no matter what I have to do because it's an investment in my future health. So I will go for the organic variety of food. I will try and buy from local farmers if I can. Some people have the ability to do that, some do not. Um, if you have to buy from places like Whole Food, try and look for when the sales are. If you have a big enough refrigerator, which I do not, but a lot of people do, you can buy, some extra if it's on sale, if it'll keep in the fridge. So there are ways to do it. I mean, you can even look for spotted bananas. The price comes way down
Yeah.
but the bananas are just the way we want them. And you can throw some in the freezer, some in the fridge. And so look for those manager special bananas, or even just go, you know what, make friends with the produce manager at wherever you go to shop for your food. If you make friends with the produce manager and you cozy up to him or her, that's a great thing because they'll give you deals. You can buy a case at a time of certain things. Like if you're going to get oranges, you can buy a case of oranges and save 10 or 15%. So there's ways to do it that most people don't think about because they're just buying very inexpensive food because it's low quality food that's subsidized by the government. So they don't think about finding ways to do it. But when you're buying the more expensive food like the organic produce, yeah, you got to get creative.
Right. Right. Okay. Next question. Someone asked. I'd be interested to know your thoughts or recommendations for someone who's had their thyroid ablated, and of course now she's a hypothyroid.
Right. There is, I can't help thinking about, there was one of the Star Trek movies where I think they went back in time and the doctor, Dr. McCoy, was viewing some of the practices that were done in today's hospitals. And he saw them as being so barbaric because of what's done in the future. And I see the same thing. Just today, there are things that are being done that are really, that hopefully one day will be considered barbaric, like chemotherapy and radiation therapy to deal with cancer, because today we actually have non-toxic and methods that are way more effective than chemotherapy and radiation therapy, but most people don't know about them because those chemo and radiation are just big money makers, unfortunately, for a big industry that has developed around cancer. And the same thing with thyroid. So, some of my clients have gone to regular medical doctors, and the medical doctors have said, okay, you need to be on thyroid meds, or we have to radiate your thyroid in order to kill it because it's producing too much thyroid hormones. Uh, and you can't, to a certain extent, you can't blame the doctors because they're not taught the information that they need to know to tell the person how to heal their thyroid.
Yeah.
They're not taught in medical school how to say, okay, Let's get you on a healthy diet. Let's test your iodine levels to make sure you're getting enough iodine, because if you're not, your thyroid is definitely not going to work properly. Of all the glands and organs in your body, the thyroid is the one that's the biggest customer of iodine. I mean, it requires more iodine than any other gland or organ in your body. And unfortunately, iodine also has the distinction of being the hardest nutrient to get. So no wonder people have so many problems, especially since iodine used to be added to salt. It still is, but people aren't using salt anymore. They've cut way back on salt or cut it out completely. So now where are they getting their iodine from? It was added to salt because of problems like we're starting to see happening again. A lot of people getting symptoms of hypothyroidism. So yes, for somebody who's had their thyroid just totally, in effect, having it removed, it doesn't work anymore. Now you're stuck. Unfortunately, you have to use thyroid meds. There's two basic kinds, synthetic and natural. The natural one seems to work better than the synthetic. That's the good side, but the bad side is the natural one is an animal product. So if you're a strict vegan, you're not going to use the animal one, which works better than the synthetic one. So now you'll have to use the synthetic one. But you can still make it easier on your body to deal with the fact that you no longer have a functioning thyroid by getting enough of all the nutrients that the body needs, the rest of the body needs, to work properly. So you just got to basically, there are ways to make the best of a bad situation. But also for your listeners, the way to prevent what happened to this person who asked the question is, if you even think you have thyroid issues, or if you had a doctor that tells you, yeah, you have a bad thyroid, it's not functioning properly, we got to get you on meds, get a second and third and fourth opinion. And hopefully one of those opinions would be from someone who is an iodine literate practitioner. Because again, iodine being very important to the thyroid, and there are practitioners who are, as it's termed, iodine literate. They understand the importance of iodine. There are even some medical doctors, very few, who know about that. They don't promote it because they're not really allowed to talk about nutrition as a way to deal with things, and they don't want to lose their medical license, but they do know about it.